Parallax for performance, that is fake interiors in AAA games. Also, we will be looking how AAA games like GTA 5, Cyberpunk, Spider-Man, and other games use this technique of parallax interiors to optimize their performance and maintain the graphics and details within their game. So, before we continue, I would like to start with a quote. Great magic trick doesn't fool the eye, it convinces the mind. So, as stated, it's the role of the game developer to ensure and make sure that the trick over here exists as a mechanic or so, but also bring the immersion into the tasks and make sure the people and the audience enjoy the game throughout as well as the mechanics of it. So, continuing towards the list of our agenda today. So, starting with, we will be looking how AAA games like Grand Theft Auto V, Spider-Man, Cyberpunk use this technique. Then we'll be looking at the origin of this technique, about the Amy's room and force perspective. Then we will be looking at the two approaches to this technique that have been done by the previous Godot devs. And lastly, the shader that I've remodified and refined and which can be used by developers to apply in their project to enhance the graphics. And lastly, a short Q&A, starting with how do AAA games use these technique to optimize their work and how does it work well? So while making buildings, it usually takes a lot of time making those vertices, and these increases the poly count of the mesh. And as you all know, Godot will start lagging if there is a high poly mesh or unoptimized mesh. So this is a countermeasure for that. Well, in a case where there are thousands of buildings, it is useless to make interiors for all of the buildings and detail them one by one. So this method not just only counters to the lag, but as well as gives the building a in-depth approach as well. And since this is a shader, it helps optimize the performance as the shaders are pre-calculated by the GPU as a part of parallel computing and saves the poly count. Since it saves the poly counts, so it automatically optimizes the performance of the games. So continuing to our next slide, we will be looking into the origin of this technique and how this technique was inspired from. So the Amy's room is the beginning of all illusion. So if anyone have you visited any illusion room or mirror halls? So over there you might have seen this trick that two people of the same height will appear differently on the basis of their height. One may appear taller and the other will be shorter. And this is due to the perspective of the person who is watching them afar. Well, this is how the trick works. Well, the trick states that the person who is positioned at the center recasts it in a particular way to show that how the room extrudes inwards, stating that the room looks normal, but due to the position of the person inside the room, it creates an illusion that one person is smaller and the other is taller. Thus, we will be using this technique for the same. So, similarly, with this same principle, we can use this, apply it on a mesh, and we can make a fake illusion of a fake interior inside the mesh with this technique. So, continuing to the next slide, what are the existing approach to the same technique? So basically, अभी तक there are two existing shader templates, the ones that we can find on Godot Shaders website to create the same sort of illusion. The one was created by Gamma Games and the other one was created by Andrea Terrence. both of these textures use different techniques to be speaking. Well, I will be explaining them one by one. Also, it's kind of boring uh, just to explain them in PPT. So I have decided to give you guys a demo that how it looks different. So um, here, as you can see, this one is done by Gamma Games, where they have used a single image, and with the principle of depth extrusion, they have created an illusion, or should we say an in-depth extruding illusion that gives this image a fake depth. As we can see that this room is just a single texture. So the shader by Gamma Games, so it has both merits and demerits. Merits ये है कि first is it's easier to apply and it works in Godot 4 onwards. Um, and demerits ये है कि first it's just a pre-baked 2D image जो कि one side की तरफ से है, and if we want to control the emission we have to bake the emission with the texture itself. And secondly, the images are a bit of repeating जो rooms में we are able to see. And third thing is image feels a bit static. Also, if we want, we can increase the room quantity and repeat the same type of room, as this can be done for buildings, apartments, जहाँ पे rooms are multiple, yeah, there are too many rooms to start with. Well, speaking of the next shader by Andrea Terence, the better part than Gamma Games is this one is fully configurable. That means I have the controls over all the six sides of the cube. That is the full room basically, all the five sides. And and उन्होंने they have used a simple, reliable structure for this technique. But issues are still the same. Emission control was an issue, as well as the code available in the Godot Shader website is kind of buggy and broken and is not suitable for Godot 4 and 4 onwards. So, with that, the method used here compared to Gamma Games is a bit different, because Gamma Games, what they did was उन्होंने 2D image में extrusion technique से they just created the illusion of a fake room, whereas Andrea Terence came up with a concept where we can use the same technique, but what if we try to control all the sides of the shape, giving us this wonderful shader methodology. So continuing to our next slide. Well, after seeing both the approaches done by Gamma Games and Andrea Terence, well, I decided to refine and remodify the approach taken by Andrea Terence. And here is my approach, where I have decided to give a full control over all the full faces of the of the room from the inside, as well as have a full brightness and emission control of the room by configuring the brightness of the texture. And not just that, to my approach, I came up with two basic techniques. Well, the first one was assigning the size of the texture as well as offset in which it will be kept. And my second approach was, after tweaking it a little, I came up with a fixed structure So now I'll be demonstrating both the methods. It's just में एक में tweaked shader है and the second one is non-tweaked, but we can adjust the offsets and the size of the texture. So starting with the one that has been tweaked, as we can see that the crease linings are very precise and the texture has been mapped very well, uh, as we can see on the crease lining. So moving to our second approach, जहाँ पे we have this adjustable offset and size. So as you can see on the properties panel, we have this array of offset controls and size controls. So for this, we will be using an example that we will be modifying the right side of the wall and we will be moving it via its offset size. So we have seen the different approaches. Now I will be demonstrating how we can create a empty room with the help of the shader. And with this, we can create a number of possible shaders and illusion ideas with the same texture. Well, the one that I am showing you is a empty room. Well, this same hollow room technique was also used in Stanley's Parable, जिसमें they had also created the same interior room textures, hallways with the same illusion technique, and we can also achieve the same. So now we understand how the technique works, but still something is missing, right? So the part that we are missing over here is how do the building mesh or how it gives the view that we are viewing through a window or a wall. So in order to achieve that, here is a small demonstration. So as you can see, this is just the regular shader that we just have made. And if we just add this mesh with the wall texture and if we just extrude the window, so we can get the same illusion of the wall depth as we see in the video games. So as you can see, the brick wall texture mesh is extruding outwards, which gives us this fake window depth like appearance, and the shader acts as the depth perception for the room. As we can see, this is what we have been opting for, and we have finally achieved the fake parallax approach. So lastly, I would like to also demonstrate, like, since now we have seen how the shader works, how the mesh overlay over the shader works. Now we will be looking at one of the demonstrations that I've made using Blender, where I've just created a building and used this same shader as an interior overlay. Another thing I forgot to mention, that we can also control the depth perception by scaling the texture on the z-axis. So basically, if we just resize the texture back to its normal, and if we extrude, or should I say scale, the mesh on the z-axis, as the depth is directly related with the image texture, so what it does is it gives us the increase in depth. We can use this approach in making the hallways bigger, and since here we have used an apartment building for a reference, we can see that we have increased the interior depth of the hallway. So that's it for the presentation, and it seems like we have reached towards the end. So, on a conclusion note, I just wanted to say that I have found two methods to this approach, and one, I have tweaked the overall shader just like a drag and drop with proper precision control. And second, for much more precision and to accuracy, if you want to change or if you want to play with the values, I have made another shader that has complete offset and size control of the textures, where you can modify, remodify as per your need. Thankfully, the previous developers, they have updated the approach, and compared to Gamma Games, this approach gives you much more better control over brightness without baked texture, as well as the control of textures in all the sides of the room. So yeah, that's it. So thank you for attending this session. I hope this session was insightful, and you guys may have got an idea how to fake parallax interior works. And I hope that you guys will be using this shader in your projects for optimizing